My dear children, once again welcome to our physics class. Hope you all are fine over there. Children, in the previous session we had discussed Bernoulli's principle, and we also discussed 2 or 3 applications of Bernoulli's principle. One was to find out the speed of fluid coming out from a hole in a tank, and other one was the proof of Bernoulli's principle itself. Today we are continuing with the same topic. We need to discuss some other applications of Bernoulli's principle. Venturimeter. Venturimeter is a device which is used to measure the flow of incompressible liquid. Okay, so it helps us to measure the flow of a liquid. It is based on Bernoulli's theorem. How we can apply Bernoulli's principle in the working of this venturimeter, we can discuss about all those things in the coming sessions. See, on the figure you can see the structure of a venturimeter. Venturimeter consists of a horizontal tube of non-uniform cross-section. See, you can see this is a horizontal tube, and this consists of a non-uniform cross-section. Here it is broader, here it is narrower, again here it is broader. A manometer or a U-tube is attached to it as shown in the figure. So this can be considered as a manometer tube or U-tube. And when a liquid flows through the tube, the manometer level falls in the limb 1 and rises in the limb 2. So this can be considered as limb 1, this can be considered as limb 2. So whenever a liquid flows through this horizontal tube, the manometer level in this U-tube changes. The manometer level in the limb 1 increases and the manometer level in the limb 2 falls. So let h be this height difference. So there is a difference in height between the liquid level inside this manometer. Let h be the height difference of the manometer liquid. And let capital A be the cross-sectional area and V1 be the velocity at the wide limb. So here, this is the wide limb. So here, let capital A be the cross-sectional area and V1 be the velocity at the wide limb. And this is the narrow limb, and here let small a be the area and V2 be the velocity. Okay, so on the figure it is A2, but we can consider it as small a. Okay, area of cross section at the wide limb can be considered as capital A, and at the narrow limb can be considered as small a. Okay, now we can apply Bernoulli's principle at the region 1 and at the region 2. Now, according to Bernoulli's theorem, we know that Bernoulli's theorem is P plus half rho V1 square plus rho GH equal to a constant, isn't it? So here the potential difference term will be equal to 0 because the tube are at the same level. Both the ends of the tube are situated at the same height. Region 1 and region 2 of the tube are located at the same height from the ground. So there won't be any height difference. H will be 0 and Bernoulli's equation becomes P plus half rho V square equal to a constant. Now we can apply this particular equation to region 1 and region 2. So when we apply the same equation to region 1, we can apply the Bernoulli's principle to region 1. So you will get P1 plus half rho V1 square equal to P2. Apply the same equation to region 2. P2 plus half rho V2 square. Now, according to equation of continuity, we can write AV equal to a constant. So the product of area and velocity at the region 1 will be equal to the product of area and velocity at the region 2. So at the region 1 area is A, at the region 1 velocity is V1 equal to at the region 2, area is small a and velocity is v2. So when we apply equation of continuity to region 1 and region 2, we will get the expression a v1 equal to small a into v2. From this we will get an expression for v2 as v2 equal to a v1 by small a. Now substitute this expression of v2 in this equation. Okay, so substitute this expression for v2 in our previous equation. So next we are going to do that. We are going to apply this equation to our previous expression. So I am going to rub these things. Please note down. Pause the video for a while and please note down. So we are going to apply this v2 expression to this equation. So you will get p1 plus half rho v1 square equal to p2 plus half rho. v2 is a v1 by small a. So v2 square will be equal to a square v1 square by small a square. Okay. Now bring all the pressure terms together. So we will get P1, bring P2 from the RHS part to the LHS part. So it will become P1 minus P2 equal to half rho A square V1 square by A square minus half rho V1 square equal to, so when you look at both the terms on the RHS part, half rho V1 square is a constant, common factor, half rho V1 square. So take it outside. So half rho V1 square into A square by small a square minus 1. That is P1 minus P2 equal to half rho V1 square into A square by small a square minus 1. Now from this we are going to find out an expression for V1 square, and afterwards we need to find out an expression for V1. Okay, so please note down all these steps, and we want to find out the expression for V1 in the next slide. So we got the expression P1 minus P2 equal to half rho V1 square into capital A square by a small a square minus 1. Now here we need to do some modifications. P1 minus P2 is the pressure difference. Okay, so whenever liquid flows through this horizontal tube, a pressure difference is experienced. Okay, because this region 1 is a broader one and region 2 is a narrow one. So due to the difference in area, a pressure difference is experienced, and due to that pressure difference the liquid level in the manometer tube will change. Okay, so this P1 minus P2 can be regarded as equivalent to H rho G, and here to be more specific we can write it as H rho suffix m into G, where rho m is the density of the liquid in the manometer. We had already studied one expression in the beginning of this chapter. The pressure difference can be considered as equivalent to H rho G, where rho is the density of that liquid. So here the height difference is shown by the liquid in the manometer, and that height difference is denoted by H. So density should be substituted that of the manometer liquid. So here instead of P1 minus P2 substitute H rho mg, which is the manometer tube, which is the density of the manometer liquid, rho m, rho suffix m, equal to half rho V1 square into a square by small a square minus 1. Now this rho and this rho is different. This rho is the density of the liquid flowing through the horizontal tube, and rho m is the density of the liquid taken in the manometer. and on rearranging you will get V1 square is equal to 2h rho mg by rho into a square by small a square minus 1. Okay, now from this what is V1? For V1 is equal to square root of 2h rho mg by rho into a square by small a square minus 1. So this is the expression to find out the rate of flow through the Venturi meter. So this Venturi meter helps us to measure the flow of a liquid, and the working of this Venturi meter is based on Bernoulli's theorem. Okay. Now the next application of the Bernoulli's principle is that of dynamic lift. So what do you mean by dynamic lift? Dynamic lift is the normal force that acts on a body by virtue of its motion through a fluid, usually through the air. And this dynamic lift also can be partly explained on the basis of Bernoulli's principle. So we can consider lots of examples. Example, ball moving without spin, ball moving with spin, aerofoil or lift on an aircraft wing, all can be explained on the basis of this dynamic lift, and which in turn can be partly explained on the basis of Bernoulli's principle. Now we can first consider the case of ball moving without spin. Ball just moving through the air. The path of the air particles on both surfaces of the ball can be considered like this. This is the streamlines or the path of the particles, fluid particles on both sides of the ball. So when this ball moves in air without spinning, here the ball is not spinning, it is just moving linearly. The velocity of the air above and below the ball is the same. Okay, that means the fluid particles moving on both surfaces, that means on the upper areas and the lower portions of the ball, are moving with the same velocity. Hence, there won't be any pressure difference, because as per Bernoulli's principle, whenever pressure increases, velocity decreases. That means pressure is inversely proportional to velocity as per Bernoulli's principle. So if velocities are same, then there won't be any pressure difference. Pressure will be equal. So here the velocity of the air on both surfaces of the ball will be same when it is moving without spin. Since there is no velocity difference, the pressure difference also will be 0. So the pressure difference between above and below the ball is 0. Hence, there is no upward or downward force on the ball. That means the ball will not move up. No upward force or no downward force is experienced by the ball. It will continue to move along the same horizontal path. But what happens when the ball moves with a spin? See, next we can consider the ball moving with spin, and we are very familiar with the spinning motion of the ball. A ball moves with spin. So consider this ball, it is spinning, at the same time it is moving. So whenever a ball is moving with spin, or when a ball is thrown in a air with spin, air will be dragged along with it. So therefore the velocity of the air above and below are different, and which is shown by the streamlines above and below the ball. So above the ball, the streamlines will be like this. See, this will be the streamlines above the ball. But at the same time below the ball, the streamlines will be simply like this. So from this, it's very clear the velocity of the air above the ball is more, and velocity of air below the ball is less, because we can see that above the ball the air is following a curved path, but below the ball the air is following almost straight line path. So if both the air particles are to be reached simultaneously on one point, the air particles on the upper portion or the air particles above the ball should increase their velocity. then only they can reach simultaneously with the air particles below the ball. So the air particles above the ball has to increase their velocity. There will be a velocity difference between above and below the ball. Above the ball, the velocity will be larger. Below the ball, velocity is smaller. And as per Bernoulli's principle, pressure is inversely proportional to velocity. So velocity increases, pressure decreases. So above the ball, pressure decreases. Below the ball, velocity is more. Velocity is less. So pressure will be more. So there will be pressure difference, and due to this pressure difference, air flows from more pressure region to lower pressure region. So here pressure experienced is more in the lower portion of the ball. So there will be a movement of air from high pressure region to low pressure region, that is in the upward direction. So due to this upward movement of the air, the object will experience an upward force, and this is a dynamic lift because the object has been lifted up due to this upward motion of the air. And this dynamic lift due to spinning is known as Magnus effect. So this effect is very, very important. This dynamic lift of the ball experienced due to spinning is called Magnus effect. Okay. Now, next we can discuss the case of an aerofoil. It has the shape of that of a bird's wing, like this. Okay, so whenever an aerofoil or any object having this particular shape moves through the fluid, the air particles above the fluid will follow a streamlined path like this. But at the same time, the air particles below the aerofoil will follow a path like this. So as discussed in our previous case, since the air above this aerofoil is following a curved path, velocity experienced will be more. If velocity is more, as per Bernoulli's principle, pressure will be less. Similarly here, below the aerofoil, velocity will be less because they are following a straight line path. Hence pressure will be more as per Bernoulli's principle. And due to this pressure difference, there will be upward movement of the air from high pressure region to low pressure region. And due to this upward motion of the air, an upward force is experienced. So this is the dynamic lift. Okay, so this principle is applied in the design of the wings of aeroplane. So you might be familiar with the wings of the aeroplane. They are having a shape like this. Okay, so all this can be partly explained on the basis of Bernoulli's principle. Then, one common example based on Bernoulli's principle is that of atomizer. And you are familiar with atomizer. You might have seen people pumping the insecticides and all those things using a pump like thing, and that is atomizer, and it is used for getting a fine spray of insecticide or perfumer. Okay, and nowadays we are also using sanitizer in such bottles. So what is the principle behind this atomizer? So in order to find out the principle, they have given a figure. So let's be familiar with that figure. We can see a cylinder. See, so if we consider a cylinder, there is a cylinder in an atomizer, and this cylinder is provided with a piston. So this is the piston, and what happens when the piston is pushed inwards? What happens? So before that, we should we should connect a small vessel. Okay, we should attach a small vessel continuing to the liquid to be sprayed at the end of this cylinder. So here we can consider we can attach a small vessel, and it consists of the liquid to be sprayed, and this is attached to the cylinder. Now we can see a small tube here. This helps us to spray the liquid upwards. Now, this is the structure of the atomizer. So what is the structure? There is a small cylinder, and that cylinder is attached to a piston. A small vessel containing the liquid to be sprayed is attached to the end of the atomizer or end of the cylinder. Now, the piston is pushed inwards. When the piston is pushed inwards, what happens? The air is blown out through the small opening of the cylinder, because the cylinder is provided with a small opening here. So the air is blown out through the small opening of the cylinder. And you know, since the opening is very small, that means area is very small. As per equation of continuity, velocity will be very high. The velocity of the fluid coming out from the small hole will be very high. So here, since the hole is having a very small area, velocity of the air coming out from that hole will be very high. And when the velocity is high, as per Bernoulli's principle, pressure will be less. Okay, pressure will be less. So here we need to consider one thing. Here area is less, isn't it? So here I need to correct it. Here area is less because the area of the opening is less. So velocity of the air coming out from the liquid is more. So the pressure experienced will be less, because whenever velocity is more, pressure will be less as per Bernoulli's principle. So at this region pressure will be less. But at the same time pressure of this liquid system will be more. So there will be a pressure difference between two ends here, and due to this pressure difference, fluid moves from high pressure region to low pressure region, and here this is the movement upward. So finally the liquid fluid is moved upwards and it is ejected out along with the air with high velocity. Okay, so as the velocity of the flow of air increases, pressure at the opening decreases, and due to the lower pressure at the opening, the liquid rises through the narrow tube and gets sprayed out along with the air. This is the principle of atomizer, which could be explained partly on the basis of Bernoulli's principle. And other application that is very interesting, we cannot say it's the application, that means blood flow and heart attack can be explained on the basis of Bernoulli's principle. So Bernoulli's principle helps in explaining the blood flow in the artery. You know, the artery may get constricted due to the accumulation of plaque on its inner walls. Plaque means fat. Artery. Due to the accumulation of the fats and all those things, the artery gets constricted. And finally, there will be a larger constriction as the fat deposition goes on increasing. So what happens? The blood flowing through the artery experiences some obstruction there. So the speed of blood flow increases at which plaque is deposited. Why? Because the area for the flow of blood has been decreased. And wherever area decreases, as per equation of continuity, the velocity will increase, because here the blood need to flow through this narrow opening. So hence it will flow with more velocity, and when the velocity increases, as per Bernoulli's principle, pressure is less, and when pressure is less, pressure outside will be more. Okay, pressure outside will be more. So the pressure inside the artery is less compared with the pressure outside the artery. So what happens? There will be a force acting towards the lower pressure region. So the high pressure on both sides of the artery compresses the artery towards the low pressure region. So as a result, what happens? The artery may collapse due to this external pressure. This may result in heart attack. Okay, so the increase in speed will lowers the pressure inside the artery and it may collapse due to the external pressure. So this is the Bernoulli's principle behind the heart attack and blood flow. Okay, so that's all about the applications of Bernoulli's principle. So many other applications are also there. See, it is advisable not to shut the doors of the doors and windows of the house during a wind or storm. Why? See, during wind or storm, if the doors and windows are kept closed, what will happen? There will be a difference in the velocity of the air inside the house and outside the house. If the door is closed, the velocity of the air flowing through the house will be less. Inside the house will be less. At the same time, the air will flow with a very large velocity outside the house. So due to this velocity difference, there will be a pressure difference. So inside the house, pressure will be more, isn't it? And outside the house, pressure will be less, because velocity is more outside the house, so pressure will be less. So there will be a movement from high pressure to low pressure area, that means in the upward direction. And due to this upward movement, the roofs of the house tend to be blown out during a wind or storm. So it is advisable not to shut the doors and windows of a house during a storm, because in doing so there is a chances for the roofs of the houses to be blown out. This can also be explained in the basis of Bernoulli's principle. So that's all about today's session. With this, I am concluding my session. Notes of the topic have been uploaded. Please go through it. We will meet in the next session. Till then, take care all of you. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.